going to, she's graduating high school. She's such a great kid, and she's gonna go off to college. And I was like, I just have to get her through. her senior year. And then tell your grandparents. And I got her to her senior year and she graduated, and I took her up to
else in the community. If the effects of a particular drug are so bad that they need to be made illegal, then shouldn't the negative side effects be enough of a deterrent, enough of a punishment to anyone who uses them? That we don't also have to begin involving everyone else in the community.
The baby boomers being in fucking power. My mic constantly keeps muting. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna put it in some place where I can't mute it anymore. I'm sorry.
Community. police.
This kid was 13 when he did this video. 13, motherfucker. We're still looking at it here 12 years later. This kid is fucking 27 now or something like that. But he was 13, and from God's mouth to his lips, or from God's mouth to his ears or whatever.
Politicians, lawyers, teachers, peers, all that shame. All that baby boomer, cocksucker, Christian, fucking Catholic regress shame that you put your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter through. Fuck your fucking shame, you piece of shit, dirty bastard, Satan, baby boomer, cocksucker. Fuck your fucking shame. To stop the use of this drug? Shouldn't the punishment it inflicts on the person who
Shouldn't the punishment that the drug inflicts on the person be enough? Shouldn't being a drug addict be the fucking consequences of being a drug addict? But no, you piece of shit, cocksucker, brain dead, fucking yippee cocksuckers came in and built the CIA, the KKK, the FBI. You started prosecuting your own children for drugs? What the fuck was that, piece of shit? Backstabbing traitors, and we do hate you for it. It's why we don't really love you or whatever. I don't really love your generation. I don't really love you. You threw your kids in fucking jail. That's not something I ever would have done. You threw your kids in jail. You didn't do it, you yourself personally, but you voted for people who did. You threw your fucking kids in jail for drugs. What worth are you? You know, what worth are you? If we get back together again ever, it'll be after 50 fucking years and your piece of shit playing God judgment ends, or you go to the grave.
use it be enough?
You're not God, bitch. I don't care what you think about drugs. You're not God. I don't give a flying fuck what you think about drugs. Piece of shit fascist bitch.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. All the consequences of being a crackhead isn't enough. The baby boomers gotta rape you and throw you in prison on top of it.
I don't understand why. Because there's...
And they can't imagine. They just never even thought of this. They can't even see themselves for the trees that they hide in. They can't see themselves from the trees. They can't see that they built a prison industrial complex or a fucking military industrial complex or a credit industrial complex that destroyed 5 or 10 generations. They just can't see it. They're that goddamn dumb and shitty and traitor. They're just, completely oblivious to it. Fucking shitheads. Suck my fucking dick with your fucking drug jails, you piece of shit fascist cocksuckers.
so much fighting within particular communities over the possession of that drug, whatever it is. That
It's 4 a.m. and I'm
more
screaming at you for your war on drugs. And it is you, it's your generation. You caused it, bitch. Fix it.
problems than the drug itself, than the side effects themselves.
Yeah.
So I don't know what exactly the war on drugs is trying to accomplish.
Oh, it's Sorrow. Sorrow. SF Sorrow. It's a big ship called SF Sorrow where all of the baby boomers constrained their children to melancholy and the infinity sadness. I'll use album titles to describe, in a hipster douchebag manner, how much my parents' generation sucks dick. Thanks for all the drug prisons, piece of shit fascists. Thanks. Thanks!
It hasn't been successful in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, has your drug war ever been successful ever? Has it ever saved a life? Ever? No.
You would think that prison for it.
Yeah, I really hate you. I hate you. When I see you, when I walk in the room with you, I have to remember all of the things that I hate about you. Remember 10 things I hate about you? Oh boy, 10 would be such a wonderfully blessed number.
I have 1 million incarcerated drug offenses in this country right now today. I wish I could get down to 10 reasons that I hate about the fucking baby boomer, cocksucker, brain dead, backstabbing traitor generation. But there's actually a million reasons. There are currently 1 million inmates facing drug charges in America. And yeah, we can't reverse that without killing you, destroying the prisons, and stopping that terrible dark ages. But you don't want that, so we don't do that.
Then why would
We
they
are your
then
kids.
continue?
We're not going to do what you don't want, you know? So we don't kill you and burn the prisons down. But that's what should happen. You've been Hitler. You've been Hitler. I don't really see a difference between Hitler and the baby boomer generation. What's the fucking difference? They constrain millions of people to jail and death. What's the fucking difference, pieces of shit? You and your fucking drug and prison industrial complex, fucking everybody hurt by the fucking cold. What's the difference between you and the Nazi party? Nothing!
After getting out.
Jail, rapists, drug czars and shit like this, like drug DEA enforcement pieces of shit or whatever, right? All of that stupid ass shit, right? That's all straight from the Nazi Gestapo fucking handbook. What's the difference between rapists, child molesters, murderers, and the baby boomers who constrained their fucking children to jail for drugs? Nothing. They're all the same Hitler hate, same fascism, same cocksuckery. Fucking suck my fucking dick. When I walk in the room with you, I have to remember that you constrained 1 million people to jail in the last 30 years, and we all have to kind of forget about that. Oh, the baby boomers, they kind of threw 1 million people in jail for drugs in the last 30 years. They're all still in prison still. Some of them were dying of COVID and diseases and stuff all the time. But I mean, you know, all those people that you busted for drugs, they're still in jail. And we still fucking hate you. You stupid piece of shit backstabbing traitors. I would fucking kill you if I could. But you didn't raise me that way, so I don't. Thank God you did raise at least some of us with some sense, you know? But I would kill you if I could. No joke, no lie, nothing. Like fucking the people who build all the drug prisons in this fucking country, I would kill them if I could.
After, you know, dealing with whatever punishment that
I used to sing about it on stage 20 years ago.
court or law system dishes out afterwards. Apparently not, but we don't think about it this way.
I might hit you with a quote from a song that I wrote 20 years ago in my punk band, right? The internet wins, the government smiles with its broken teeth, and the internet smiles when it's underneath the skin of every man on earth. Really makes you feel your worth. When you tell me what product would be perfect for you, well, you don't really know me, so fuck you too. That's literally what I was saying when I was 17. I still feel the same thing now. Fuck you and your products and your fucking prisons that you try to sell to people as some kind of product. Suck my dick, piece of shit traitor. You threw all your children in fucking jail. We all know it. We were polite and we pretend that you didn't commit that terrible war crime. But you did. You threw all your children in fucking jail for drugs. Suck my fucking dick, piece of shit, Republicrat fucking fascists.
Way.
And yeah, the Democrats back this shit too. The Democrats are just as bad or worse. They're the people who know better, but still vote for the fucking same supermaxes that blight the Colorado fucking landscape with their drug cases. You fucking fascist, cocksucking traitors. Fuck you. Anyways, back to the survivor. I'm sorry about this. It's just, you know, there's a lot of problems up with this girl. There's drug issues. They took advantage of her with that. There was rape issues. They took advantage of her with that. There was story issues. They took advantage of her in the media. Baby boomers took advantage of this girl all of her fucking life. And when she finally speaks out, let's hope some baby boomers, 1 or 2 of them out of the, I don't know, millions and millions, finally see some justice. But I've never seen a baby boomer prosecuted for any crime. Have you? Not even O.J. Simpson.
Massachusetts to tour her.
I've seen a lot of people my age convicted for drugs. I've never seen a baby boomer convicted of a crime besides shoplifting. Have you?
For college, I thought
DUI. I've seen a lot of baby boomer DUIs. They like to drink and drive.
I was doing everything right, getting her set up, and then when we came back from touring the college, I told him I was packing my stuff and I was leaving, that we needed to separate for a little bit because I didn't want him to go crazy. And I went to my mom's ex-boyfriend's house, and he let me move in there. And as soon as that happened, and my
Your mom's ex-boyfriend's house?
husband thought that I wasn't coming back, he started doing crazy things like stalking me at work and putting antifreeze down my gas tank or popping my radiator and doing anything he could because he knew that I would have to come crawling back. And but this time I was like, I'm not fucking going back there. And I lost a lot of things when I left him. My brother turned his back on me. My friends turned my back on me because they thought that I had this perfect marriage, right, with this old guy. And nobody knew what was going on behind closed doors. And so when I left, everyone was like, couldn't understand. Nobody could understand, but nobody was asking either. And he just harassed me. He stalked me. He did everything to try to get me to come back. And when he realized he couldn't, when I started dating, that freaking set him off even more, you know, because now he went from having all this control over me to when I left, he was like, well, you have the kids, let's see how you fucking pan out. And then as soon as I started doing it and making it work and started dating, he was like, well, now I'm gonna take the kids. So now we go through this divorce, it's 50-50 custody, you know, you go back and forth, this time thing. And because he knew he had no longer had that control over me in the way that he had before, he started using my kids against me. And it went from 50-50 to, well, they get to make their own decisions. They get to do this, to my daughter with autism coming home to me and saying, Daddy said he's gonna kill you. And if you know something about autistic kids, they don't lie about things.
Yeah, I don't lie, really. I'm sorry, but everything I've said on stream, I mean. Does that count or whatever? I'm sure I muted myself sometimes tonight because I'm an idiot. But I mean, like, when I speak, I mean what I say. I'm not lying about the stream sniper or any of this other stupid shit. When I talk to him, I'm not lying. It's kind of crazy. It's like, I don't lie. I don't need to lie. What is there to gain from deceiving anybody here?
Things like that. And I was scared.
Yeah, like your kid is just gonna tell the world. Yeah, the kid will tell the world. The kid will tell the world. That is something very sage about you that you understood. The kid will tell the world what happened to you. They can't lie.
Very scared for them. I was scared for me. And
yeah, and she's like, if you tell, Jeffrey might kill us.
I would try to hold him in contempt of court because he
Really?
was doing all this stuff to me and to the kids. And I didn't have money for a lawyer, tried to go to legal aid and get a lawyer and get help with a lawyer. And I remember the lady asking me a question, and because I smoked marijuana, she didn't want to help me. Out of all the things, I mean, you could take a hair sample, that's the only thing you're going to find in my system, and they're telling me they can't help me because of that. And I was just feeling defeated. So he put that fear in me with the kids that I stopped fighting him, you know, on my time, because he would be so mean and so nasty and then show up at my work or do this or just beat you down, but he didn't treat our kids like that. So it was like hard for me to justify, like, you know, he was a bad husband but a good dad, and like, how can you be two things at once? So my relationship with my daughters suffer quite a bit out of my fear for him.
Yeah.
And the icing on the cake.
Go a big rubbery one for these tearjerker, like, exposés. They really get to me. I like it when humans are human in the moment. I've got a big attraction to it. I like watching them talk when they're talking about the worst thing that ever happened to them. It sucks, but I just like seeing humans in the moment as they talk, you know, like this.
What all of that is.
I like emotion in the moment. I'm a generator, and I don't care what the emotion is. I just want a lot of it.
9 years, or I've been separated or divorced from him for almost 10 years now.
Yeah, fuck him. Fuck him and his stupid ass. I can't believe
7 years ago, my mom moved in with him and has been living with him
You should have used protection.
ever since.
Is he a rapist? He was Jeffrey's friend, huh?
So
You met him through Jeffrey, and that's what she isn't saying. I'll say it, and the interviewer should ask her, but the interviewer is incompetent. You met him through Jeffrey?
That's interesting.
living a very bad Jerry Springer show, Lifetime movie. I'm not sure anymore. She says it's to help take care of the kids, but my kids are pretty much almost adults now.
Is she still using?
Yes. She says she doesn't use anymore, but when you grow up with somebody, like I said, when she would take the pill, even when I would know, right, when like the effects and when she talks on the phone, and yeah, so needless to say, I haven't talked to my mom in 7 years, and then my life blew up again. You know, I found normalcy. Things were going good, you know, and I was struggling, working, and just trying to make a living, and then all the Jeffrey stuff came back up. And, you know, I was just scrolling on stupid fucking Facebook, and there's a side-by-side photo of him and Bill Clinton, and
Yep.
I like stop, and I hadn't seen him in all these years, right? And I'm freaking out, and I'm like, instantly the panic, not because of Bill Clinton, because of Jeffrey, by the way. Like, who cares about Bill Clinton? But I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, what the fuck? And it's like a clickbait article, you know? They just want you to click it. So I screenshot the picture. I send it to the girl, my friend that got me involved with all of that. And I was like, holy shit, did you know that he got in trouble? Because this is 2017 now. He got in trouble in 2008, 2009, and I never was ever questioned about anything that happened, which was so crazy because I was very easy to find back then. And, you know, I wasn't out running the streets or anything. Like, if they would have searched, they would have found a lot of us in Palm Beach. And I remember talking to her. She calls me after I send it to her. And she goes, oh, yeah, you didn't know he had gotten in trouble. And I like pause on the phone. I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? And she's like, yeah, he got in trouble back in the day. And this girl was living in my house when this was all happening, when he got in trouble, and never said anything to me. And she's like, well, I didn't think it was a big deal, you know, because he didn't do anything to me. And I was like, not a big deal to you, but a fucking huge deal to me. And she still doesn't even know what the happened in the room. So I'm like mad at her again over the same shit that I was mad at her fucking 15, 20 years ago, you know? And I was like, why, you didn't think she's like, no, you know, it was whatever and this and that. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So I start doing my research on actually how much trouble he got into. And he got a slap on the wrist. And at that time, my daughters are going to school on Palm Beach Island for violin. And that's only a mile from his house. And I'm like, never thought about him like that even in the proximity of my kids because I've tried to push him away, you know, and not think about that. And then when that came back up and I'm reading that this man didn't even get in trouble, sweetheart fucking deal, work release for 6 days out of the 7, and was still doing the same shit. And I knew in my heart that he was still doing all of this, right? And so I'm like, well, now what do I do? Now I'm enraged. I'm having all those emotions that I had when I was 14. Now I'm old enough and I'm strong enough to fucking stick up for myself. I left my ex-husband. I'm like, you know, I can fucking take on the world. Nobody's getting away with this shit anymore. And I reached out to like multiple lawyers, and I had some laugh at me. I had some of them hang up on me. And so I started doing more research. I was like, I gotta be able to find a lawyer that represents some of the girls, because those, obviously, they believe them, right? And I've had these people laughing at me and not even helping me or directing me. And so go down the rabbit hole of fucking taking in all this information. And for me, I thought it was just a small group of us girls that were involved in this, right? And as I'm reading this, I'm finding out all of this horrific shit, and it's so much more, and there's so many more girls, and
Get
it's,
him.
you know, and
Fuck
I'm
him. He's an asshole. Take him down.
enraged now, and I'm like,
You know, we used to have a word for people like this. We used to have a word like this in our culture. He's big boss. He's the big boss. Fuck him. Fucking take him down like TMNT. He's the big boss at the top of the fucking roof. He's the big boss. He's like he's the bad guy in the video game. You gotta take him down. He's the big boss. You know, we gotta fight him like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever. He's the big boss. We gotta fight him, you know?
I could have, I'm mad at myself. If I would have told someone
Metal
back
Gear
then.
Solid, big boss. You know, it's big boss. We gotta fight him. He's a terrible asshole.
I could have stopped so-and-so and blah, blah, you know, and you start getting into your head. And I finally find Brad Edwards, my attorney now, and I remember calling him and talking to his secretary, and I was like, explaining, and when you're finding out something like that, you're just fucking rambling, you're just fucking blah, 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 and then she's like, hold on, let me see if I can get him on the phone, which isn't typical usually when you call an attorney, that you can get them on the phone right away. And he got on the phone and he asked me a few questions, and I remember the one question that really fucking threw me for a loop was, who recruited you? And I know it's not that he meant it like that, but it's how the process worked. He wasn't trying to offend me by saying that word, but I had never thought of it like that. And I remember just crying, and I told him who it was, and he was like, you know, that was it. And we started working together, but he told me, he's like, there's nothing, you know, our hands are tied. There's nothing we can do. There's no light at the end of the tunnel for this. And I was like, Brad, we can't let him get away with this. I was always checking in with Brad and being like,
that's Big
can
Boss's,
we do this? Like,
that's Big Boss's influence. When Big Boss is around for like 30 years and shit, I know, because he's been there all my life, causing all the problems that I face. And our government with the prison industrial complex and the military industrial complex and the credit complex. And I know Big Boss has been there. I don't know what it is. It's like some kind of crazy entity that just really doesn't care about what happens to poor people or whatever. But when Big Boss is around, other people give up hope of trying to convict Big Boss for some reason, but they're actually fairly fallible.
I'm coming up with my own ideas, and this man's gone
They are human and they are fallible.
to law school. I know he knows what he's talking about, but
Yeah.
I'm like, we gotta fucking do something. And Julie Brown from the Miami Herald decided that she was going to do a report on him, on Epstein. And she reached out to Brad, and Brad reached out to me, and he's like, Jenna, I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. Would you be willing to talk to Julie?
Yes.
You know, no pressure.
Yes.
I'd
Yes.
never talked to anyone besides
Yes.
Brad about what had happened. And this and that. And I was just like, I remember being like, anything to help the cause, right? So we meet, the first time I meet with Julie Brown is in Brad's office, and that was the same day that I met Virginia Roberts at that day. And she was in there talking to Julie. When she came out, she came over to me, and I had still really didn't know the whole picture of like what Jeffrey had been doing. I still thought it was just this like Palm Beach thing, you know? And Virginia came out to me, and she just came up right up to me, and she just gave me a hug, and she's like,
Survivor.
I'm so proud of you for speaking up. And I was just
Yeah.
kind of blown away that like she was thanking me for something that I felt like we should be doing. But I
Yeah.
didn't realize how big Jeffrey was at that time
Virginia?
either.
It was Virginia
And,
Dufresne.
So I go into the interview with Julie,
Aw,
and
Virginia killed herself.
we're sitting there, and first time I'm in front of the camera, and she's
You
got
see
her
the
camera
tears?
lady there,
Virginia
and she's
killed
talking, and
herself.
she's asking me all these questions, and she's, just spitting them out, and I'm like, I break down. I start fucking breaking down in the interview, and she's like pauses it, and she goes, do we need to do this another day? And Brad and his partner right away was like put it to her and was like, this is her first time ever telling anyone her fucking story. She doesn't need time. She needs you to freaking listen. You're holding no space. You just want her to spit out the story, and she's telling it for the first time, and you have a camera in her face, and you're telling her, like, because I was crying, like,
Yeah, come on, man.
It
You
was
guys aren't human.
bad
kind
taste,
of. You're being
bad,
some-
poor choice of words
it's
for
poor,
her.
It's poor humans.
But we get
They're
through
bad
this interview,
humans.
and I allow her to use my face for this. And she worked on that interviews for over a year, that report, before she released it. And I remember texting her all the time, like, always waiting on the edge of my seat, like, when is this gonna fucking come out? What's gonna happen? And when it finally did come out, it fucking blew up. And I remember calling Brad and being like, we're going to fucking get him, aren't we?
We're gonna
And
get
like, it was the
him!
first time that like
Fuck
there was
Big
some
Boss!
positive,
Take
right?
down
That,
the
like,
Big
people
Boss!
were listening, people were upset, people wanted to know how this happened. Everyone's finding out the big scheme, how he had been trafficking everywhere, and all of it.
In Hardcore Henry, I love Hardcore Henry. It's like my favorite movie almost. In Hardcore Henry, he's been like cloning girlfriends and using them to try to get at the main protagonist, Hardcore Henry. And he finds him finally in some Russian like rooftop, and like 1,500 clones like attack him or something like that, or like I don't know 150, something like that. It's kind of crazy. And there's this whole thing about defeating Big Boss, because it's this guy that's just corrupt and fucked up and kind of weird and effeminate and sort of like powered and moneyed and cultured, and it's not this guy that's gonna fight you with missiles and bombs and guns and drones and stuff. It's this guy who shows up with all of these bodyguards, and you just beat the bodyguards and then you arrest him. And that's kind of how Hardcore Henry ends too, which is kind of funny. It's like he basically beats Big Boss. And I love beating Big Boss. Like, we were trained by video games to take down like people like Jeffrey Epstein all of our lives. I don't see why, I don't see why he wasn't, I don't see how they let him die, for one thing.
All these places, not just in Palm Beach, and I was like, he's going to get in fucking trouble. This is like, I'm the first glimpse of hope. And I was like, kept telling Brad, I was like, the one thing that I want out of all of this is just to be able to have my day in front of him, and him have to listen to me on what he did to me and what he stole from me. And Brad's like, we're gonna get that, like, it looks like we might just get that. And my world changed, right? I allowed myself to go
Wow.
publicly for something that I was extremely embarrassed about. I had reporters showing up at my house, showing up at my...
Yeah, to admit that you were basically a teenage hooker, and But you were in over your head and all this. It takes so much bravery. I think she's such an amazing woman.
Jobs about. I had reporters coming
Oops, sorry.
and showing up at my house, showing up at my job, coming, and playing outside with my kids, and they just walk up. It was I'd never experienced something like that before, and a lot of fear started coming in play with all of that, because now everybody's trying to reach you, and I couldn't understand at that time. Yes, I wanted him to get in trouble, but I also didn't want to lose my privacy for me and my family. And it was like vultures coming in and trying to eat me alive, but not in a bad way, like trying to help, but it was just too much. And it put me in a bad place for a while of like depression and stuff, because I kept thinking, am I doing this for the right reason? And I knew I was, but I also knew it was at such a big cost to myself.
There were so many victims.
That balancing was really hard to,
You're a heroine.
on the days that were so dark, that
you had the thoughts that
I was doing the right thing for the right reasons.
You were doing the right reasons.
There would be days that I would eat myself up, that I have these people showing up here and no privacy, and now everyone's going to dig into my past, and I was so worried, and like just crazy things in my head. And then he got arrested, and I was working at a church at that time, and I got a call, and he's like, we got him. Brad called me, and I was like, just broke down in tears. I was like, this is fucking all right. This is what we had been working for. We got this is something's happening, right? People are listening. He's gonna get put away for the rest of his life, right? And
that's all she wants.
We were setting up for that, to go to court and do all of that, and to have my day, right? That I had so much wanted. And then I got that call that he was gone. And I had already put myself through so much, and you talking to the FBI and doing all, like, so much stuff, and then to get the call that he was gone felt like I did everything and still wasn't going to get what I needed.
But then he died in prison.
Yeah. And I was never going to have my day in court. He was never going to have to sit there and face me. He was never going to have to listen to me. He was never going to have to hear my words.
She's pissed, and I'm pissed too. She should have her day in court. I want it with all of my being.
Whether they would have affected him or not, it was for me.
Somebody who really deserves the Kill Bill moments. It's like a Kill Bill moment. It's like Kill Bill, fucking Kill Bill. She needs her Kill Bill moments, and I want her to get it.
I needed that, and it was stolen from me again. And I remember texting the FBI
She won't
lady.
Get it. He's dead now.
I did
dead now.
A lot of talking to with, and I said, so he wins again. And that's how I felt. People say, he's dead, that's a good thing. Yeah, great. But he still won. He never had to be held accountable in a way that was fair. He lived his life for so long, and then when we finally got him, it was taken from us. And
I can understand
that was just,
it. I can understand
for me, not okay. And then you have this judge in New York who's like, oh, sorry he's dead. We can't tell you anything. But here, come in, and we're going to give all the survivors a platform to speak. To who? To you? To the fucking reporters in the back? To who? And then thinking that they're doing me a fucking favor.
No.
Anything I had to say was to him, not to anybody else in that fucking room. I was appalled.
What you said was beautiful.
I told Brad I will not speak at that. I am not going to speak those words that were meant for him to fucking hear. And you guys all want to just fucking use it as a fucking ploy to a news media outlet or a fucking circus act. And that was step one of the baby circus. The circus has grown so outlandishly in this whole fucking thing that it's beyond me. Like, I get asked so many times, well, what do you think about this? I'm like, I am processing this like the rest of the fucking world is. Did I know that he was trafficking people to other people? Did I know that he had this whole ring going on? Do you know how much that hits on me when I thought for so long it was just this small group of fucking girls? To come to find out when I'm sitting in an FBI meeting for them to blow smoke up my ass about how he supposedly died, and girls are walking in that I went to school with and never knew that they were involved with him? Girls that I met when I was in college and was raising my kids with them together and didn't know that they were involved with Epstein. Those are hard things to swallow. And it's hard to digest that. It's hard to understand when you, for so long, you have thought it was just this small group of girls.
She's not going
to find out.
These people won. I can't stand evil people. They always win because the nice people, they have scruples. They won't fight underhandedly. They use real courts and real stuff to get what they want. They don't fucking get what they want underhandedly. These guys just fucking dirty dealt these victims so bad.
How broad and how wide it is. And the regret that you hold on yourself for not speaking up sooner. Even though now I know that I wouldn't have been believed back then. He would have, get away with it. But how many girls I could have saved, or how many, it was just mind-blowing. And then knowing he's got ties to Lex Wexner. The first real job I had was at Victoria's Secret. I was like, was he fucking, you start fucking going crazy. You're like, was he watching all of us? Did he keep an eye on all of us all the time? Does he have a little roster and be like, this bitch better not say nothing? Like, you really do start you go crazy with all these thoughts, and you're hearing all of this, and then you're seeing all of this, and then you're just watching the circus.
Some of it's connected. Lex Wexner owns Victoria's Secret. That was the first job I ever had. That would freak me out. I'd be like, wait.
Would go on, and it's such a crazy experience to be living through, and then everything dies out for a while. It gets quiet. He's dead. Then Maxwell pops up, and we're gonna go after Maxwell. Cool, let's do it, And then it kind of dies out again. And then Donald Trump gets on fucking his little crusade campaign for his election, and is like, we want the release of these files. And I was like, the first fucking president to be saying what needs to be heard, right? Like, this is horrific, what he was doing. And he runs his campaign on this, and you vote for him, right? He's like, fuck. He's going to release, out of anything, if you agree with nothing, he's going to release these fucking files. We're going to take all these fuckers down. Really. And he was working with my lawyer behind the scenes. So why wouldn't I have believed him, right? He's going to release these files. Then he gets elected, and we get called to the Capitol to do a press conference on the release of these files. And now it goes from releasing everything to now this is a Democratic hoax. Now, why are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Why? And I'm like, I'm confused. I'm just over here fucking confused, and what's everybody drinking? Can I get some? Because the world done lost their damn noodles, and I'm out here, I got the Democrats fucking, come on, Jenna, we got your back, and then I got the president out here saying you guys are fucking hoax, and then I'm like, it's not political, but here, let me help you. And then, oh, it's not political, but here, we're going to do this. And then, and you're a fucking political pawn in all of this. And then, all the reality is go after the fucking pedophiles, right? Like, that's one thing we can agree on, right? We should be agreeing on. And,
justice.
So my life has been a whirlwind lately. I just, the song and dance and the craziness of all of this, and no hope in our government. I've lost all hope in our government. Both sides, left, right, in between. They're all fucking
assholes.
some bullshit. Like, straight
some
up bullshit. Like,
Straight up
I'm
bullshit.
watching people getting taken down in other countries.
My God,
and we have
she is so much like my second girlfriend. It's scary.
been arrested one motherfucker over here besides Maxwell. We're doing this circus show of
prom
let's
queen.
Maxwell do a deposition. The Clintons. Are we fucking out of our mind? We're going to let a lady that was proven to have lied under oath, and then we're going to talk about the president who said, but I didn't inhale. Are we fucking out of our minds right now that these people are going to go up there and speak the truth? And that's all they're doing. Oh, well, he said he doesn't remember them. Well, that's fucking nice. I'm glad he doesn't remember them, supposedly. But where's this fucking going? What are you doing? You're playing with our emotions. You're fucking using all of us. You're re-traumatizing us at the expense of your guys' own political plays. And it's disgusting. And that's the country we fucking live in. Where I watch other people getting held accountable of royal families, high, powerful people, and I'm sitting over here fucking, we're a joke. We're an absolute fucking joke, and it's so horrific.
When they have $1 billion, they think of your entire life as worth maybe 2.6 million. And they realize that they have, like, 1,000 times that, or whatever you want to call it. 999 times that. They have 999 times that, so they don't give a flying fuck what they do to your particular life. I watched them do it to me. I watched them do it to her. I wasn't affected by the same people as her, but it was the same principle, which is suppression. It's like suppression.
So what do you think we should do now?
Hang them all. Pam Bondi said if we go after everybody that was involved, our government will crumble, will fucking fall. And the fact that you guys don't want that to happen speaks volumes on every aspect of it.
That lady called for revolution.
Do you believe Epstein is dead?
No.
You know,
I don't want to conjecture.
me and the
I don't
therapist go
know.
back and forth on this a lot. Okay.
Everybody does.
Do I think he's dead? He could be. Do I think he could also be living underground? Very much so. He had too much information on too many people, and it's very clear in the release of these files. Even the redacted files, it's still very clear the ties and who he was hanging out with and who he was around, that he had shit on people. And
The most ridiculous part of all of this is that they're going to release the files,
I like her.
and then there are huge chunks that are not being released.
then
So what are we doing?
why
What the
are we
fuck is that?
protecting them?
What the fuck is that?
Yeah. Men or women, I don't give a fuck who you are. Fall, everybody. I don't care who you are, what power level you are. The fact that anybody thinks that they're above the law. Because if this was a normal person, when he got in trouble the first time, he would still be in prison right now. He would have never, ever gotten that. They had 40 minors that they could have accounted him for in Palm Beach. He got charged with one and then one prostitution.
What? What is that?
They stopped looking for us.
She's right
They
about
got
that.
to a number back then and they were like, fuck, how are we going to cover this one up? We're finding girls left and right. And then they thank God I wasn't found or involved in that back then, because I don't know if I would have made it out of that, because I have talked to survivor sisters and his teams were hunting them down and stalking them at 16, 17 years old, 18 years old, freaking watching their houses, pulling up their MySpace profiles, using any picture of them at a party or something against them. Like, I was so broken back then. If that would have been used against me, the things that I was doing back then, stripping or being any of that, I don't know that I would have made it out. And some of these girls didn't. They didn't make it out.
Virginia didn't make it out.
We have lost numerous girls to this.
Oh.
It's hard and it doesn't go away. And every day we can't escape it right now. And people fucking forget that. I go to the gym, it's on the fucking TV. I go to dinner, it's on the TV. You can't go on social media. You cannot escape it right now.
No, it's everywhere.
And then I still watch nobody doing
I
nothing
have
about
sympathy
it.
about it. They didn't
Can't
help her,
escape
no.
it, and nobody's doing
No.
anything.
How does that make you feel?
Angry, bitch.
Enraged,
Yeah.
livid.
Yeah.
Never thought I would want to be in politics, but it makes me want to fucking get in there and clean house for them.
There's never been a more embarrassing time to be an American.
More embarrassing time.
I asked for refuge with the Australians if shit gets too bad. I was like, will you guys take me in? Like, that's sad. We're supposed to be the greatest country in the world,
Yeah.
and we can't fucking protect children. And these people don't stop doing it. They don't just stop. Even if they're worried about getting in trouble or think that they might get in trouble, they're still fucking doing it. Don't think that it isn't. And it could be your freaking kid next. It doesn't have to be a low poverty child. That wasn't the case for all of us. Palm Beach, he got a good grip. He got a good grip on the poverty children, but that was not the case. Some of those girls came from great homes with great families and they still got sucked into it. So don't think for 1 second that
No.
couldn't be your kid next.
It's promises to younger individuals who just don't have the developed abilities to make a correct and valid decision, and that's how the law views it too. They say that a 16-year-old cannot give consent legally, as in, and that you would think it wouldn't be that so nasty as to say that that person is not legally allowed to give consent. They're too young. But that's where the law had to take it, because it's fucking crazy, like how bad these people are. And so now, like, the fact that he spun all of these young people around this badly is also something that should have put him in jail for life. And they don't talk about that. They only talk about his sexual proclivities. But there's also this thing about he destroyed like 50 people's lives or something. And usually in this country, you can't even go with like 4 before you have like a divorce or like falling out with your church, or you lose your job or something like that. This guy fucked up 50 women's lives in just that small community in Palm Beach before he went to the global scale, and he had an island that he was bringing them all in from all over the country. And that's the scope of it. It went from 50 little girls in Palm Beach to that fucking island of his and Zorro Ranch, where he went global with it, and he was having them fly in on planes. That's how Melania met Trump.
Same thing when it comes to drugs. Don't think it ever can't be you.
Yeah, don't think it ever can't be you. Yeah.
Or your family.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Hi, Kitty. I love you. I'm sorry, I can't sleep.
Let's say Epstein's still alive somewhere, what would you want to have said to him?
Oh.
Because if he is alive, he'll see this.
If he is alive, I would have to say, you fucking stole everything from me that day. You set the tone for my life. You made me feel less than. You made me trust people that I shouldn't have trusted. You destroyed my friends. I will never ever get that peace back. I will forever ever be haunted by you. And you should be haunted by us. And I hope you fucking burn.
It was honest.
can't believe you would use your power that way. Just can't. When people, he could have done so many good things with himself, and he did it. Thank you.
It's crazy how so many of the most powerful, most famous people in the world and in our country are into this.
How much money did Jeffrey have? I'm gonna go ask Jemmy. Hi, Jemmy. Do you have a concept of how much money Jeffrey Epstein had at the time of his death? $577 million.
At the time of his death in August 2019,
Okay, sorry, it was too loud, but yeah. Wow.
This is what our leaders are into.
For me,
14-year-old girls?
Yeah, it's like they get everything that they can possibly get, and there's nothing left for them to get, so they have to
Find something crazier.
exactly.
That was a good insight. That's what we all thought it was.
Or they start getting older and think that they're.
That's what I've always thought it was, is that they were high on cocaine and heroin and all kinds of good doctor drugs. And you want to know how I know? When I was 20, I would say 29, I think, or 31, something like that, I took a job in Maui, Hawaii, in the Canopoly Suites, which is a Westin hotel, a very expensive 5-star hotel that was $329 starting on a room and going higher. And it was a very special hotel, and it was a very beautiful place to work. I would liken it to working in the hotel at Spirited Away. It was like working at Spirited Away. It was kind of like working at Spirited Away without all the demons and goblins and ghosts and stuff. It was really cool. It was really beautiful like that. There was huge pools with water. When you walk in, you're just going to say hi to the concierge, but the concierge has like the most beautiful opening to a hotel almost in the whole world. So you stumble in and there's like aquariums on both sides, and there's like dolphins in there and shit, and you're like, oh my fucking god, this is the most rich, like lavish place in the world. And I got a job through there through a friend of my mom's who offered me a job in housekeeping just to get me out of the rut that I was in. And I took a job there for 2 years, and I dated a girl who I met on World of Warcraft for about 1.5 years, and then moved in with her after that. And it was an interesting time in my life, and I was into an idea that I could steal a pill, a room, and be incredibly high all the time on this $25 an hour job, which to me, it was like the epitome of heaven. You understand? If I was making $25 an hour, but I could just pop pills out of the medicine cabinets of the rooms that I was working in, I would have it all. I would have $25 an hour. I'd be high out of my gourd. I would work like a slave, and I did. I worked like a slave. But I didn't, and I like some days I almost didn't make it to the end of the day. It was that bad. But it was an interesting job, and these elderly Mexican women really liked me because they were like, we've never met a gringo who works like you. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't care. If you're paying me the money, I'll work hard. I don't care, And I was like, $25 an hour to me means the hardest work I've ever given anybody, because it's the most money I've ever earned in my life. That's what they would say when they would ask me. They're like, why do you work so hard, gringo? And I'd be like, because $25 is the most money, plus tips is like the most money that I've ever made in my life. And they were like, yeah, us too. So we understand it. We respect it, And I liked it. It was a good time. But anyways, the reason I'm telling this story is when I moved from room to room, and some days, I think the best days were like I would clear like 5 rooms was a standard day, but some days you would get to 7 to almost 9, which is kind of crazy. And 9 you would get help with. By the end of the day, you're getting like supervisors in there helping you because you're like the work slave horse that pulled the shitty like eight room shift, and they're in there trying to help you because it's just insane for one person to do all that work. It was kind of that, like, it was that crazy. They'd be like, white boy isn't going to be able to do the kitchen in time because he didn't grow up doing this stuff. And so they'd come in and they'd help me sort and stuff like this, because 5-star hotel rooms where the room costs like $350 a night or more, like everything, if there's a hair in the room, they warn me about this. They're like, if we find a hair in the room, and they check you before they tell the owner of the room that the room's ready. They like the supervisor comes in like a casino, and they're like, if we find one hair in this room, you are fired. And that's what they would say to you. They'd be like, if we find a single human hair in this room, we will fire you. And that's how meticulous I had to be. I had to do every inch of all the floor. I had to figure out how to, not figure out, but they taught me how to sort all of the silverware into a particular set that fit in perfectly in the drawers in a very uniform way. There was all this stuff that was just like super detail oriented that I wasn't too good at details. I still not am. And so I did my best, but they knew that I wasn't amazing at the small detail stuff, but I was good at just brute labor of working, and they liked that about me. Where I'm going with this is eventually they trusted me after like 4 months, and they started having me clear rooms alone, sometimes 5 or 10 a day. They would just be like, here's your job now. You just work, we don't care if you don't do your daily allotment. We'll cover that with the other, because there was like 450 people working there as housekeeping and stuff. And so they would just like, they would move in people. If you couldn't meet their quota for that day, they just assumed that was the par for the course. And they would back you. They would just send in like other people, like, you're slow on this room, so we're just bringing 5 people in here to just slam this out in 22 minutes as opposed to another 2.5 hours for one single person. And they were nice to you about it, but they were also like, move rooms, turn rooms over by yourself if you're good. And I did, and I got good tips too. Sometimes the tips were like $50 too. So you'd be like, oh my God, because they would stay there for like a week, and they would tip you housekeeping for doing their room for like a week. And so they were like customers in a way. I know I would never meet them, but they were like customers and stuff. And so after a while, I began to understand what she's talking about, which is that rich people don't have the same rules as everybody else. And you can tell from their medicine cabinets, which is something I experienced working for a five-star hotel in Maui in Canopoli Suites, is that, and I mean Canopoli Suites. If I type it in, you're going to understand the hotel I'm talking about. I worked at this hotel. It's the Westin Canopoli Suites. I thought this place had shut down, but no, they're still going. Look, it's 600 a room. It's 600 a room starters. You see it? I wasn't kidding. It was 300 10 years ago. It's 600 now. That's the hotel. That's where I worked. I would go from room to room to room to room, and the rooms were huge. There's only like, if you do 2/4 of a huge, like 50 room hallway, it goes down like 50 rooms or something. The corners, each penthouse is essentially a penthouse-sized room, each one. And they take so long. They take so long to clean. 2.5 to 5 hours if you got a bad room. It's like maybe 45 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes if you have a good room. And if you're lucky in a 10-hour day, you might clear 5. If you're lucky, if you get help, you might clear 7. And they might split the tip with you, but they're going to help you. And it was an interesting job, and I worked really the hardest I ever have in my life, I think. But what I'm going to talk about is this. When I began to understand, as I began to deal with very, very rich, I would say elite clientele, all of their property was in the hotel room while I was cleaning. And it's not like you go rooting through their stuff. You don't have time to do that. And on top of that, the supervisor comes in every 15 minutes to go, Dios mío, you're behind, and that's what they say too. They say, Dios mío, you are fucking behind. And that's what they say, that you're behind. Either they say you're doing good or you're behind, one or the other. They say, Dios mío, you're behind, get crawling. What can I, get cracking. What can I do for you? What can I help you to do this shitty room with? And they look around and sometimes they see that the humans are pigs and they've got 5 kids and the 5 kids have invited their friends and the kids and their friends have thrown a party for 5 days and there's like food and crumbs everywhere and there's no hope for a single human being to turn the room over in like 2.5 hours. And that's when they come help you. But that's what my life was for like 2 years. And I would come home, I would play like Oblivion or World of Warcraft for like 3 hours because the internet was expensive and it was literally like dated, it was like timed. And I eventually found like Roadrunner internet, which was like $175 a month. So I could get DSL basically. It wasn't even like a good high-speed connection that actually played World of Warcraft well even. It was just this crappy connection that constantly disconnected you. There was like, Roadrunner internet that was $175 a month or something. It was insane. And I paid it, which my roommates liked. Because they were like, oh my God, we all have high-speed internet. And I was like, well, yeah, because you live with me, but you're not pitching in. And they would give me like $5 each or something. So I got $20 off the $175 bill or whatever. But they, but they weren't going to pay for it. They told me, they were like, we're not paying for internet. And I was like, that's okay. I'll pay for internet. I need it that badly. And they were like, can we use it if you need it that badly? And I was like, yeah, no problem. I don't care if you use my internet. I'm not going to be using it that much. No. And so we shared internet there for a couple of years and stuff. And it was interesting, but, where I'm going with this is eventually after about 4 months, they would let me go into the rooms and just be there by myself for 2 hours while I turned over a room. You could even turn on the music, which didn't bother them because there's nobody there during the day when you're cleaning the room. So you can blast fucking Nirvana at top volume and nobody cares. Nobody, like, the supervisor comes in and is like, turn it down while I'm talking to you, but they don't care if you're listening to music. They think that makes you work harder. They don't care. And nobody tells you no because you're in there, you're working hard. They can see that you're working hard. They don't care if you turn on the music or whatever. So I would turn on the music and tune out for like 2 hours and I'd be exhausted from the night before because I had a horde healer girlfriend named Journey living in Illinois who was talking to me over the DSL internet and stuff all day on Vent, and it was just an interesting time. But as I started going from room to room to room to room, I began to understand something about the elite rich, which is that they don't have the same rules as us. They can absolutely get their hands on cocaine pills, heroin pills, meth pills, all types of crazy pills. And on top of that, they can get all kinds of guns and crazy property and jewelry and stuff that the fucking lower and middle class just don't fuck with. And that's I'm sorry, but I hate to say this, but I feel like I worked at this 5-star hotel for 2 years. And I swear to God, every single bathroom had a fucking literal king's ransom in fucking like cosmetic drugs. Basically, they were like, it was like I can't even remember all the crazy names of it. Like, of course there'd be like Vicodin and Percocet and stuff, and that's what you're looking for. But there was all this other crazy shit too that was amazing too. Sometimes you find like 800 milligram fucking Vicodins and shit like this, and you're like, what the fuck? This thing will kill a man, like that single pill, if you swallow it, it might kill you. That's 800 milligrams of the strong of Vicodin might fucking full-blown kill you. But you would see these rich people with those kind of drugs. And so I would go from room to room, and I began to realize they all of them, for every family, had this smorgasbord of like $450 worth of designer drugs that were being given to them by their doctors and stuff to keep their kids in health and themselves in health and all this. And I kept looking for some rich person that didn't have some kind of king's ransom and fucking... I hate to say it, but every rich person at these hotels has like a fucking king's ransom in opiates for some reason. Vicodin or Percocet or fucking Valium or I don't know, all kinds of uppers and stuff, barbiturates and shit like this. They were just like full blown. All of them were rocking like drug dealers' hoards worth of fucking legal pills that they got from their doctors. All of these rich people are completely medicated. Something about, I really feel this way. I can make that statement. After working the hotel for 2 years, I kept looking for an empty fucking like medicine cabinet. I was like, because I was stealing pills, right? I was stealing like 1 pill a room. And by the end of the day, if you work really hard for 5 to 7 rooms, you might have like 5, really nice Vicodin pills or fucking morphines or fucking, whatever it was. And so you go home at night fucking zooted. You take the pills as you're going down to the van as you leave the hotel. And they mistake you being zooted for being exhausted because you are exhausted. You've been working for, you had a lunch hour, but it's like a 10-hour day because they pay $25 a day. So everybody in the entire apartment complex pulls at least $250 a day because they're working really hard to turn over rooms in a 5-star hotel. And it was an interesting time, and we would take liquor home with us and expensive food that the rich people would give to us. They would they would leave notes like, take this whole thing, we don't want it anymore. And it would be crazy cornucopias of food and candy and expensive liquor, $50, $100, $200, $300 fucking, like whiskey and shit like this. They'd be like, we can't take this on the plane home with us. So we thought we would leave this for the wait staff and stuff. And it would be like 30-year-old whiskey and shit like this. That happened to me a couple of times. I had like a couple of times it was really crazy shit like Grey Goose and stuff. They would leave like bottles of Grey Goose and you're like, Jesus Christ, where I come from, that shit's like, at least $60, if not $125, depending on how big the bottle is. It's insane. And so you're just like looking at all this crazy shit. And so I started stealing pills because I was just like, I don't think they can detect ever. And they didn't for 2 whole years. I was like, I don't think they can detect if I take 1 single pill. I was like, as I sat in the hotel rooms, I was like, how can I stay high all the time on fucking designer drugs as I work a fucking housekeeper job in Hawaii? And I started stealing pills from the rooms. And as I began to understand that, as I stole pills from the rooms, I began to understand that rich people don't have rules. They can get their hands on cocaine, heroin in pill form if they want. They can get methamphetamine and speed in pill form if they want. They can get strips and packs and syringes with all kinds of drugs and fat medications and stuff like this. And all of them had it. All of them were proud, I think, of running like a $500 med budget in every single hotel room I worked the entire 2 years that I was working there. So I kept thinking, like, sooner or later, I'm going to run across a room that doesn't have it doesn't have any pills. I'm going to be bummed out. But no, the whole 2 years, every single room had fucking at least opioids, if not something else. It was kind of crazy for a druggie to work a job like that because I just went from room to room. By the end of the day, I only have 5 pills and they would have 850 pills in 10 different bottles, So I was like, will they count pill number 117? And it turns out what they do get back about is if you steal their pocket change, they'll get back. I watched several housekeepers get fired for stealing pocket change because for some reason they count that, but they don't count the pills or their money or their diamond rings or any of that shit. They count the pocket change because they're miserly people. And if the pocket change goes missing, they complain to the hotel and the hotel fires that housekeeper and shit. But what they don't care about is their drugs or their money or their jewelry or anything like this. And I remember one crazy day, I had a fight with my girlfriend because we were like living in different states, and I was like kind of bombing out of my job, and I was interested in moving in with her. And, and she wasn't really so sure it was a good idea for me to quit my job and all that kind of deadbeat stuff. But I was just like, I don't know. I'm going to quit this job either way. It's $25 an hour, but I'm not going to live here forever paying, $800 rent on $25 an hour. It's not like that money goes to me. It goes to the landlord. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to leave this place in a couple years after I've done enough surfing and swimming and, see the coral reefs and steal the pills from the rich people and all that stuff. And at the end of the 2 years, I did move in with her for another year and a half or something like that in Illinois. And it was a good relationship till we realized that, World of Warcraft was our only single shared interest at all. She was like this health buff and she had never done drugs and we just didn't have anything in common at all. Not even music really. And so I don't know. But anyways, so where I'm going with this is once I understood after working the 5-star hotel job, I began to understand what she's talking about. Rich people don't have laws. Like, rich people do not have laws. They are not susceptible to laws. If they get pulled over for a speeding ticket and their DUI, maybe that cop is an asshole and hauls them in, but when they understand how rich this person is, they're going to be like, here's your $275 ticket, sir. Show up at court and I won't haul you in tonight or whatever. And they're nice to the rich guy because they know that the rich guy shows up and pays their quota, which is like $300 to $500 or some shit, right? And so, like, you know, so they don't even have laws when it comes to speeding, really. They don't have laws, and that's what she's angry about. You can see the sorrow and the anger in her eyes and the respect that she has been held accountable for being a teenage hooker. She has been shamed in the public. She probably has Christian right people trying to threaten to kill her and stuff because she's some whore of Magdalene or some shit. I guarantee it's some weird Christian fucking judgment shit. And she doesn't have the most comfortable life, I guarantee it. But she was intensely honest in how fucking rube she was and how innocent she was when they got to her, which is 14 years old. You can convince a 14-year-old to do anything, basically, I would think. I don't hang around 14-year-olds, you know, so I don't know. But I'm guessing that a 14-year-old is fairly easy to trick, you know. You probably just slap down some sort of, like, increment of money, and that's going to blow their fucking little mind or whatever, which is insane. So, of course, she probably did a massage for Jeffrey, or many massages for Jeffrey, because it's like, when you hand this girl $200 cash, she's like, oh my God, I used to watch my mother destroy my family for $20. You just handed me $200. That's how it was for me when I started being a drug dealer. They would hand me, they'd be like, all right, can I get 2 balls? And they'd be like, here's $180. And I'd be like, oh my God, I haven't had somebody hand me $180 in my entire goddamn life. It would blow my mind. I wouldn't say anything in the drug deal because it would give away that I was a noob. But I mean, they would hand me $180 for, like, you know, a quarter. And I'd be like, oh my God, that is the most cash I've ever had in my fucking hand. Like, just, you know, verbatim. It's just, you know, it's just the most money I've ever had in my hand and shit like this. The re-up was really crazy for me because I'd be like, at the end of the day, there would be like $1,300 to like $2,500 cash because I would sell $90 balls like all goddamn day. I'm talking 8 balls. I would sell 8 balls for like $90. I would say 50G, 70T, 90B. 50 for the gram, which is 1G. The teener is 1.75, and the fucking ball is 2.5. And, like, you know, and you want to buy the ball because the ball is 3 grams, or you can get 1 gram for 50, or you can get 3.5 grams for 70 for $90. And you know, and when they would hand me, they'd be like, all right, let me get 2 balls. And they would hand me, like, you know, $180 for a quarter. And it would blow my mind every time. Because where I come from, that's so much fucking money. That's like somebody's 2 days worth of working a full 8-hour day or something. That's so much money where I come from. Fucking crazy. So, like, when I was a drug dealer, I kind of tripped on it, and I'm sure she did too. When somebody hands you $200 and you're like some young kid who has no clue what's going on and has no money and no hope, you're like, oh my God, $200 will make my mother cream her panties and forgive me for everything I've done in the last year. If I just hand her this $200, she'll forget all the times I got busted for drugs this year. And then I'll tell her to forget. I'll be like, look, I'm going to give you this $200 so you can go score if you want. But, you know, you have to forget all the times I got busted for drugs this year. And the mother's going to be like, okay, for $200, okay, sure. And you hand them $200 and they're like, I forgot that you did anything, right? And that's literally probably what her life was like. And when you're this depressed and you have low self-esteem and you whore yourself out, you go on drugs to deal with the pain of hating yourself. It's just the reality of it. She was probably high on coke and heroin this entire time, I guarantee it. She won't say it because it just hurts her. It just hurts her image. It makes her less credible. But I guarantee the girl was high on at least probably cocaine this entire thing. Even when she was 14 years old, she was probably high on 3 different drugs when she did this. Or she wouldn't have had the balls to probably go through with the first massage, honestly.
I don't know.
They talk about this with child warriors. They'll do stuff like cut a gouge in their fucking arm. They did it in Beasts of No Nation with Idris Elba on Netflix, which is a really good, basically, documentary about child soldiers in Africa. And we learned about the gunpowder thing that they do, which is pretty much the most terrible thing I've ever heard a human being do to another human being, which is they gouge out a chunk of flesh with a knife, and then they fill the chunk, like the chunk that's left in your, the hole that's left in your arm. They fill that hole with gunpowder, cocaine, heroin, and speed, and they rub it in, and they won't let you touch it. It just has to sit there, and the wound festers, and it gets infected, and it fucks you up. But on top of that, you also have like a 1/4 gram of meth or heroin, or I think it's heroin actually. It's heroin, and for some reason they like to use gunpowder because there's more bullets than there is anything else. So they did it in the movie too, where they like take a bullet, and he takes a bullet, he cuts a gouge in a poor little like 13-year-old kid's arm, and then he fills the gouge with black tar heroin, cocaine, and gunpowder. And he licks the hole because he's like a child molester. He's a general that rapes fucking little child soldiers and stuff. It's disgusting. But I mean, that was an expose on how bad child soldier stuff is in Africa. And like, you know, and it's based on a true story, which is fucked up. And like, but they would do shit like that, which is fucked up. And that's the sort of stuff that they do to these kids. They expose them to heroin and cocaine at a very young age. And I guarantee that's what happened to her. Do you hear her voice? It's very, very low and very, very gravelly. Where else have we heard that? Well, you'll hear it on your Janis Joplins, your Lana Del Rey's, your, who was the big one? The big one was Nina Simone, right? That's heroin voice. I know it because I've been it. I have it myself. It's heroin voice. It's years and years of heroin abuse. She's got that. Most observers probably peg her as a sober person. I peg her as some kind of crazy drug disaster. And she didn't talk about that at all. But I guarantee it, she talked about drugs a little bit. But she didn't talk about how lost she got on drugs, which kind of fascinated me because I'm just like, to be a hooker at the age of 15 like this and do a crazy massage with your other hooker friend and then pull some other girl in so you don't have to be the hooker anymore is not innocent. It's not innocent. Usually you would have a lot of hard drugs in that sort of situation. It's kind of crazy to get her to even do that sort of crazy immoral shit. They were probably so high. That's another thing that they don't talk about is really what I think gets all of these little girls in trouble is they go sniffing around for hard dope when they're like 14 years old because they want to figure out what heroin and speed and cocaine is like. And when they go sniffing around for hard dope, they find Jeffrey Epstein. I think that's actually the problem. If they weren't so obsessed with losing their innocence, they wouldn't find people like Jeffrey, but they are. They're interested in losing their innocence. I don't blame them. I'm just saying that these people are already interested in doing naughty things, I think, you know? They're not maybe not interested in child prostitution, but they're definitely there to push boundaries. They're like 16-year-old girls that are exploring hanging around older people, and they're there to push boundaries. And this was used against them, and it is terrible. But I mean, there's an element here that she's not talking about, which is Jeffrey Epstein probably kept all of these girls incredibly high. If he didn't, somebody else did. And she's not talking about that because she doesn't want her credibility destroyed in the public. But if the public knew how much drugs this girl has done, they probably wouldn't listen to her, which is unfortunate. I'm not saying it to besmirch her or bring her down or be negative to her in any way or form. I'm talking about the terrible fucking nature of John Q. Public's fucking conviction of somebody in the public's eye. She can't get away from that. And trust me, that's the assumption that all the mothers make, is that she's on drugs and she lost her way or something. But honestly, I doubt that was her idea. I think that was all the adults around her. You couldn't blame her. You can't, and particularly in the actual vestiges of the law, you can't hold her culpable for any kind of sexual decision she makes before the age of I think it's, I don't know, in Florida, I believe it's 16, but I don't know. I don't track the age of consent. It seems kind of creepy, you know? So it's like weird. I don't know what the age of consent in Florida is, and I don't want to ask. It seems creepy.
Men that are involved and they have children or children in their lives.
I'm that guy who has children, not in my life, but just I've got a lot of friends with a lot of children and stuff, and I'm a trustworthy guy and stuff, so I don't do weird shit, you know. I don't steal cars or like fuck people over. If I steal from my friends, it's in some kind of drug binge, and they know, and I tell them, and I make amends or whatever. It's not something about like harming other people around me with my crazy, chaotic, druggy lifestyle. It's more about just like, you know, being adult. And that was something that I think was stolen from her. I look at her and I still see a little girl, unfortunately. She's this grown woman, maybe more mature than me, because she's been dealing with people like Fox News and CNN and shit now. So she's got a lawyer and she's more professional and shit. But I still see a little girl who wasn't allowed to grow up. You can see it in the fire in her eyes. She's not fucking around. This is what she probably would have said when she was 16. But now she's a lot more serial about it, and it scares me a bit because she is also this undeveloped woman who had her womanhood snatched from her before she knew that it was even there to be snatched. And that's how I think of childhood rape. It's disgusting, but I think, you know, it's like losing your innocence before you knew there was an innocence to be lost, you know? So I have a great deal of sympathy for her. But I don't think she's aged beyond the day that she was molested, which is something they say about rape victims a lot. They kind of regress back to the day that it happens to them. And I look at her and I see the innocence of a child who seeks justice, but there's no justice to be seen in this entire fucking situation whatsoever.
And they're still doing that. Like, it
Yeah,
just...
she's like, this surprises her. They're still doing that, and she's like gobsmacked by it. And I lost that innocence so long ago when I was like, I don't know, like, okay, when I think it was the paddy wagon, when they broke my ribs and they fucking rough rided me in the fucking paddy wagon, my faith in humanity was shaken. It felt like I received the kind of treatment that they would give to a terrorist in Guantanamo Bay. And I lost faith in my government. I lost faith in myself that I even allowed myself in that situation. I lost faith in the people that did it to me. I hated the police forever after that. I just never ever was going to be their friend anymore after that. I was never going to look at them kindly, or that they're not these sneaky bastards that I don't trust, you know? And all this shit, you know, it really did. It affected my trust. I have trust issues now over that and stuff. And it's weird. It's just, you know, but I try not to live in that day where all of that happened. I think she's still living in that day where all of this happened because she was not allowed to grow up. That Jeffrey did not allow her to grow up, so she comes at it with the innocence of a child. But the problem is pretty much the entirety of all of the entities in this case are corrupt, from the government to Jeffrey to the people that he was dealing with, and she herself took money from him. That makes her corrupt in a shitty way. I'm not trying to shame her as a victim. I'm really not. I think she was too young to make an adult's decision, and it's not her fault. But I still see a child that is tilting at windmills when it's Sin City, and honestly, it would take a Marv killing them with like his fists or a pistol or something. I don't think the lawyers are going to ever give her any kind of resolution. I think that's naive. I think it's Sin City, and unless you bring the entire Sin City down, one single politician or one single Jeffrey isn't going to do it. And I see her tilting at windmills like a child because he did steal her innocence and constrained her to being a 16-year-old girl all of her life. So she wants to tilt at this windmill and tilt her lance and go in charge at Jeffrey and get her conviction after his death. But the problem is the world doesn't work like that. There's so many nasty, shitty, corrupted people who were working with him, who have their whole livelihoods tossed up in this, like basically some kind of stake in a high stakes gambling poker game, like some kind of high stakes like Omaha or Texas Hold'em game. And nobody at the table has her interests at heart. Not the government, not Jeffrey, not Jeffrey's lawyer, probably not even her lawyer really is really cares about what happens to her. Her lawyer cares about winning the case, and her money. I doubt the lawyer cares that much about her, but it's not really conducted to the job. Their job is to actually worry about the law. If they worried about her state of mind all the time, they probably care about that, but they don't worry about that much. They need to worry about depositions and filing and stuff and backgrounds and stuff and checks and not getting their pants pulled down in court and all that stuff. So her lawyer isn't even particularly sympathetic to her, which is probably really crazy, but true. Her lawyer isn't really sympathetic to her. Her family is, but they're not there when she has to do depositions and stuff, probably, or they might be, but I don't know. But she's probably not thinking about them. She's thinking about what happened that day, and all of that is just burden. So she herself, her cost for this is she wished to come crucify Jeffrey herself and slay the demon that raped her. I have a great deal of respect for that desire. But in my experience, and I don't mean to shame her or bring her down or be negative to her in any way or form, she's a heroine and I got no issue with her. It's more that the more you tilt at windmills, like thinking that you can point a lance at some human and get them to do what you want them to do, it's the less efficacious you're going to be. The more you tilt a lance at another human being and try to get them to help you catch the windmill or whatever, the less help you're going to get. It's better just sitting on the horse and pointing at the windmill and then waiting for somebody to come or something. It's insane. If you try and sway them like this, if you make it seem like a crusade, the people will tune out and they will ignore her. And I hate this about humans, but the more passionate you are about something, the more they tune out. They might care if they really like what you're saying or the song that you're singing or the performance that you're giving or something. They might care and might really like it. A good example of this is like, I don't know, songs that shouldn't have been as big as they were. Like Radiohead's Creep really speaks to rich white people for some reason. We all don't know why, but I mean, it is a song named Creep. But yeah, Radiohead's Creep speaks to a large amount of white people for some reason. And so that's an example of, like, it's just sort of weird. It's like, I don't know what I'm trying to say with this. It's like if you tilt at windmills and you try to get the world to do what you want, they will just resist you further. And she obviously wants justice here. I think that's incredibly brave to even tell her lawyer that she wants that, because the minute that they know she wants that, they're going to laugh at it, devalue it, take it off the agenda, and then ask her about it a few months later. They're not going to do anything to help her along those lines at all. Not her lawyer or anybody around her, I don't think, because it's like, that doesn't benefit them. They benefit by winning the case, so they're only thinking about that. She wants justice. I don't think the lawyers care about justice. I don't think Jeffrey's fucking estate cared about justice. I think they fought, but I don't think they care about justice at all. I don't think the cops that busted him cared about justice. I don't think they just sort of were doing their job. I don't think anybody around her cares for justice at all. I think it's her and me. That's it. And the public. Okay, John Q. Public is on her side because we do want justice for this. We have some sympathetic heart for these victims, and we really do. Not just victims, but for this particular lady and all of the people around her. We have great sympathy for these victims. But I don't know if she's going to get what she wants. Almost nobody does. It's very rare when a Jeffrey gets $600 million and gets to rape children and actually gets what they want. It's actually fucking rare. Most people just get thwarted, and when they want something, they just get thwarted. Other humans find out, they just step in and make it not a reality. You want a promotion, then somebody else is going to try harder. If you want to get fired, then the boss might suddenly like you that day and think themselves guilty to do it. They will resist you all the time. Humans just resist people most of the time. If you try and influence them, they just resist you most of the time. That's why reverse psychology works so well. So now I see this beautiful burning desire for justice in her, and I love her, and I believe in what she's fighting for, and I see what she's fighting for, and I believe in her cause. But I'm gonna leave her with a quote before I go to bed here, because I don't think I can finish this. It's like 5:30 in the morning. We can't always get what we want. She wants some kind of resolution. I don't think these people can offer her that. I think the only thing that they can offer her is money. That's it. And I hate that. I hate that about legality and lawsuits and justice in America in the modern age and shit. It's often about sussing out an eye for an eye. It's never about justice. It's about eye for an eye. They know that they don't have to pay her anything. She's going to survive either way and keep on striving, so they don't pay her anything.
But we allow it in society. We downplay it. We have a president that fucking runs women through the mud, and you don't think that other generations are watching that? Younger people and saying, okay, well, if the president can say grab him by the pussy, why can't I?
Yeah, if a baby boomer says that, why can't all the others, you know? Yep.
We're setting that tone and that narrative, and we're allowing it. And
No, we aren't. We just don't listen. We're not allowing any of this. The public wants convictions, but we also don't listen. We don't listen at all. We don't listen to what she says at all. We just convict in the court of public opinion. That's what we do as the public. We don't listen to the victims whatsoever.
that's heartbreaking.
It is. It's heartbreaking. Like, John Q. Public doesn't care about your personal life, as unfortunate as it is. They care if some rapist is free in their community. It's cold and it's dark and it's unforgiving and it's selfish. Welcome to humanity. You seem to think that they care about prosecuting this child molester. They don't. They care about money, prestige, clout, fame, and power like everybody the fuck else. And she herself is culpable of this as well. She seems like the least corrupt of the victims. But oftentimes when you don't have corruption, it's usually because the person doesn't need money. She doesn't strike me as that sort of type. She strikes me as somebody who might need like a career out of this or some kind of money out of this. And I'm not saying she's like that. I don't think she appears corrupt to me at all. But I mean, I want to believe that she's this innocent person. But I mean, she was selling herself. She was complicit. She knows it. She knows that the John Q. Public convicts her in the eye of the court of the public opinion. And I did just convict her in my own court of my own public opinion. I was like, well, but you sold this to him. She convinced you to do this. Yes, and it was a lot of peer pressure. That's fair to say. It's very, very good for you in an argument in court that how much peer pressure there was for you to do what you did. And we all know about peer pressure. We just will do whatever our friends tell us to do because we're scared of being called a pussy. So yeah, the peer pressure was there. You were pressured into this and it was unacceptable and your innocence was stolen. But I don't think the public cares about that. I think the public wants to make sure that there isn't child molesters roaming free like some kind of NAMBLA, like North American Man Boy Love Association or something. I think the public's interest is incredibly selfish because it always is. It's about, well, how does this affect me? And most of the American public is going to say, we want these child molesters off the streets where we don't have to worry about them harming our kids too or whatever, right? And that's the attitude. Now, that isn't conducive to her being successful in this court case. And that's what she's complaining about. And I don't find fault in what she's complaining about. It's unfair. Like, we turned a blind eye to the victims. We definitely did.
So bad that I don't trust anybody anymore.
Yeah, she doesn't trust any of us anymore. And I don't blame her. We did not treat her well.
going to homeschool my
I think she's far more likely to trust a rando like me at this point who just interviews her, or this dude trying to interview her for Soft White Underbelly, than she can her own lawyer, because that's how fucked up humanity is now. They're like all slaves to the money god. It's kind of like that movie They Live. If you put on the sunglasses, he tries to force the other guy to put on the sunglasses for like 20 minutes in the greatest fight of all time on the silver screen. And it's kind of funny. The guy just refuses to do it. He's like, I don't want to see. I don't want to know what you're talking about. I don't intend on fighting it, and I don't want to know. And Roddy Piper can't seem to understand this. He's like, what do you mean you don't want to know? There's a bunch of aliens that are trying to masquerade as humans that are sneaking around on the streets and stuff. And the sunglasses, for some reason, shows you their face through their cloaking device. And he's like, why don't you want to see it? And the other guy's just like, I don't want to fight them. I don't want to do anything. I don't believe you. You're a jackass. Shut the fuck up. And if you try to force me to put on the sunglasses, I'll beat your fucking ass. And then they do have like a 10-minute fight in the middle of They Live where he's just like, where are the sunglasses? You have to see them. And eventually he does. He forces the other guy to fight to the point where he actually subdues him. And then in a big wrestling match with Roddy Piper versus, I forget the name of the other guy, but he's famous too. And you know, and just because he wasn't a big star, you know, this was the only thing I think he ever did. And they fight, and then eventually Roddy Piper just puts the sunglasses on the dude and curses him to understanding that everything around him is an enemy except for the dude who put the sunglasses on him. And that's often how, you know, conspiracy circles work. But the problem is, if you're trying to force somebody to put the sunglasses on, you're the same as the aliens who are using the fucking, you know, like her trying to force the community to deal with this is the same sort of fascism that Jeffrey exhibited when he did what he did. It's this control issue. She wants to control the situation and her life and her story in a way where she convicts the guy who did this to her. But the problem is, I think she and I are like the only people here besides the rando, you know, public that really doesn't like child molesters and stuff. We know they exist because they leave flaming comments against them all the time on YouTube and shit. But there's like no, you know, there's like no real, I don't think she's getting support from anybody. And that seems so tragic. I think it is sort of just turning a blind eye to the fucking victim. But the problem is, we all sort of tend to think about like culpability. If she's sold to him, that's going to cancel her with the Christian women. It sort of cancels her with me a little bit as a lawyer type or whatever, or like a person who respects the finer like machinations of the law. If she sold sex to Jeffrey, if she took cash from him afterwards, she's just as culpable as him. She engaged in sex trafficking just as much as he did. Does she not? Now, this is victim shaming and sexist and right-wing and male chauvinist and fucking shitty. But it is sort of a double standard to say you sold sex to him. Did you not engage? To say that she didn't engage in sex trafficking is sort of an incorrect statement. And this is the problem. It's not like I want to indict her for this or guilt shame her or guilt trip her. It's probably horrible. Probably make her cry, what I'm saying right now. It'd probably make her fucking cry, and that's not my goal here. I'm saying that's what a lawyer would do. A lawyer will take that to court and they will use it. They will use the fact that she wants justice, and they'll be like, she's got a motive, and they'll destroy the case. So that whole I want justice at any cost thing, it's good, but you see that sort of thing in Batman, but it never leads to good things in Batman's life even. When Batman goes on some crusader justice thing, usually somebody dies, you know? It's not so good.
my two youngest next year because it's gotten that bad. And I have big, absolutely not, you know, they need to be in school and all of that. But
Like,
I don't.
she's Batman. She's a badass like Batman. She's like a Batman to me. She's fighting these terrible, terrible people. But the problem is she wants it badly. She wants it more badly than Bruce Wayne does. Bruce Wayne just wants to clean up the streets. I don't think it's about that for her. I see a revenge motive here. That doesn't play well in court of law. If she's got a revenge motive, that doesn't do so well. They can use that to discredit her.
I don't fucking trust anybody.
You shouldn't say this live because it poisons any future testimony that you might have in any sort of actual justice. You know, in any justice, you might have to testify again. If you have to testify again, the smart lawyer is going to be like, what did you say on the soft white underbelly interview? And they're going to pull up this exact thing. They're going to pull up this right here, what she said.
Absolutely not. You know, they need to be in school and all of that, but I don't fucking trust anybody.
I don't trust anybody. And they're going to use this to discredit her. They're going to say, do you trust the court? And she's going to be like, no. And they're like, all right, if you don't trust the court, would you, like, what's to prevent you from lying to the court? And she'll be like, I won't lie to the court. I'm a victim. And they'll say, but you have said on camera, on record, that you don't trust anybody. So we don't really trust you. Why are you here testifying today? And they'll destroy her on the stand with stuff like this. It's not so good. You know, the court case is never coming. But I mean, if there was something in the future, say maybe they prosecute Donald Trump for actually patronizing the Lolita Express. If they were to do something crazy like that, they're going to need some of her testimony. If she destroys her credibility by saying, I don't trust anybody and I'm out for justice and I voted for Trump, but then he didn't give me what I wanted, so now I don't vote for him anymore. And all that stuff, it poisons witness testimony. No, am I shaming her? No, she has conducted herself impeccably. They have not left her an option. You know, they've not left her an option. She had to be completely honest about all of her motives and everything that she's doing here. They did not leave her an option, you know. But if she's chasing windmills and trying to kill Bill, they can use that to stop her.
I don't trust the government. I don't trust the fucking school system.
They will use this. You are giving testimony in a court of law, basically, and you are saying that you are a hostile witness to the government and the courts, essentially. This is not so good in a court of law. You shouldn't be saying things like this. Your lawyer should have been wiser about what you said and what you didn't say, and the lawyer should have looked it over, which they probably did. The lawyer probably had to agree, and I can't believe that the lawyer agreed to this because she is destroying her credibility as a witness.
And
the minute that witnesses start talking about crusades or vendettas or justice, or they just want to see this person brought to justice and all this stuff, that poisons juries and it poisons lawyers and it poisons judges. It's not so good. When the victim looks like they've got some kind of agenda, that doesn't spell so good for the defense. You know, it's not so good. It's, you know,
at the cost of these people, they did that to me. And I can't ever get that back.
No, but this is just her, like, you know, this is just her, you know, like, detuning after all this terrible shit. I don't really fault her for that, but the way that she speaks isn't conducive to winning a court of law and getting your end justice result, you know? They coach witnesses to be not emotional, to answer yes or no questions and all that stuff. She didn't do that here. She declared a vendetta against him, and she tilted her fucking jousting sword at a windmill and she charged off like Don Quixote. That's not so good in a court of law. That can be used against you. It means there's motive there, that you want something and that you might lie to get it. And they can bring your credibility into question.
What are you still dealing with today from all of this?
Well, but remember, he's dead now, or at least that's the current story is that he's dead now. There's no justice to be had except for Ghislaine Maxwell or anybody else involved. And so right now today, I suppose her talking about how she had a vendetta with him is probably safe if we're all to work under this maybe perhaps false assumption that he's dead. Then it is safe for her to say that she had a vendetta with him because he's dead and gone. Who the fuck cares? It's not like he's going to sue her. It doesn't actually break her credibility at all. And I forgot about this whole aspect of it. If he's dead, it doesn't really affect her credibility if she declares some kind of jihad against him. Not really. He's not there to raise the lawyer's hands in defense against it, essentially.
A lot of shame.
The lawyers will, object if they feel that they have a valid objection. But he's not there to tell them to do it. He's dead. So it's sort of, or at least that's the story. So
I hold a lot of shame and a lot of guilt.
yeah,
for what
you sold this to him. You let some girl trick you. You were kind of a rube, but I mean, that's who he was looking for, which I think exculpates you completely from guilt. You were the type that he was looking for, a young, innocent 16-year-old girl. You can't fault them for making poor decisions. They don't know any better. They've never encountered a fucking predator in the wild like alligator hunter or whatever. They're just not like that. So they just think that it's one interesting thing that they're going to do one time or something, and then it ends up being this terrible pattern of rape. But like I think one of the reasons that they all do stuff like this is they all think that it's just going to be that one time. But I mean, if a rapist affects you once, they're going to affect you again. They're never going to stop.
what I did. People can tell you all the time it wasn't your fault. They were the adult.
No, this was not your fault.
But you hold that. I was forced.
You did. You sold it to him. You were too young to know better, but you did engage in it. You engaged in sex trafficking. It takes two to sex traffic. Buyer and seller. You were the seller, and that means you did engage in sex trafficking. I'm not trying to shame the victim. I'm just saying that's how the jury looks at it. It's unfortunate. We hate it, but it is true. The jury looks at it like that. If you sold it to him, you're culpable. I hate saying it because it seems like victim shaming to me. That's not my goal here. But it is in the eye of a jury. If they think that you went after this, if they think that you sold it to him, then you're halfway culpable because you engaged in the same sex trafficking that he did, essentially. You sold sex as opposed to buy sex. But in a court of law, they don't make the distinction. They just call it sex trafficking, whether you buy or sell it, right? And they treat hookers the same as they do Johns because they call it sex crime. Now, they don't force hookers, I don't think, to register as sex offenders, but they do Johns, I think.
14. I knew.
Do Johns have to register as a sex offender if they get caught? I don't really have a concept of it. Let's go see. If a John is busted in a prostitution sting, do they have to register as a sex offender? No. Like the current look at buying sex is that you are engaging in sex trafficking. It's way, way darker than it ever used to be. Okay, buying a hooker used to be basically legal, but now it's like you're engaging in sex trafficking, which is this whole like kind of power game with like gangsters that sell women and stuff, and has these terrible law enforcement connotations and stuff. So it's a lot different in the last 5 years than it's ever been. But I mean, yeah, it's like, I think most of the time, if a prostitute is busted in a prostitution sting, do they have to register as a sex offender? No. So prostitutes don't get the sex offender charge, but occasionally I think the Johns do, depending on what they do. But I still think of prostitutes as engaging in sex trafficking. It takes two to tango. If there was no sex to sell, there wouldn't be prostitution or sex trafficking. So it's sort of weird when they sell their bodies, even at the age of 14. I was sort of like, well, that fucking really muddies the issue, because then there's money exchanged for goods and services. At that point, yeah, the guy's still breaking the law, but it's sort of like, did he actually rape you if you sold it to him? Is another problem, So we don't like it when they take money for sex because it clouds the issue really, really bad. She did that.
Right from wrong.
She feels shame for it, but she should have known you can't really get away with this sort of thing this young. You'd have to have really bad parents, and she had a bad parent, but not that bad.
I thought I did, you know? So yeah, but I hold a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and a lot.
You were an underage hooker. I don't mean to shame you. I just call a spade whatever it is. I don't fault you for your actions. I'm just saying that it takes two to tango. If you sell sex to somebody, you are engaging in sex trafficking. There is no distinction in my mind from essentially between the hookers and the Johns.
A lot of disgust.
It sucks, but it is actually sort of like that. Now, the jury, they'll make their decision however they make their decision and shit, right? But I'm saying that, selling the sex is, in a way, providing goods and services for a product rendered. And that's a business transaction. That's a little different from rape or, other stuff. Prostitution.
To know how bad it was. I mean,
you skipped me way the fuck back, and I was at the end. You fucking piece of shit.
a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and.
What makes you think, YouTube, piece of shit, cocksucker, brain dead developer? What makes you think it's okay to skip me back an hour and 10 minutes just randomly? Shouldn't you say, would you really like to skip it or something? But instead, you just send me back an hour and 10 minutes. Sometimes I watch the whole hour video all over again because I don't know where you stuck me.
Disgust for my own self still.
What would you say to someone who's going through something similar?
Your trauma does not define you.
Maybe not with the most famous people in the world, but
you feel alone, but you're not alone. There's so many of us that go through this, and you're strong, you're beautiful, you are loved, and you are worth more than anything they could ever take from you.
Everything matters.
And on your darkest day,
you're still better than them.
Show yourself some grace.
This was really fucking good.
That you're still here.
Yeah, this was really good. I'm going to bed, guys. I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me today. You've been watching Skycat Live. It is 6 in the morning and I should go to bed. Come to skycat.live. Give me a like, sub, or a follow. Come and click on my cast face to donate, or come to the Twitch or the YouTube. Give me a like, sub, or a follow. This video will end here. I have thousands of videos on my YouTube channel. Come check me out. If you like the session or anything that I said here, you can find it again on my channel in the next 24 to 36 to 72 hours or something like that. So 48, 72 or something. And so in the next day and a half or so, all of the videos over the last couple of days will be out. I will be publishing this video that I recorded today right now. So this video